Hey yo, what's up? I'm back and I'm here to complain and talk about something else again. And that'll be EA. No, not EA as a company, EA as an early access games. I'll touch on what a beta and alpha release is and how the industry is essentially exploiting this system. But before we start, I'll touch on what an early access game is a little bit later, but for now, let me explain what a beta and an alpha build are. First off, a game is in alpha when it's released at an early stage. It's still playable, but it's far from finished. Beta is when a game is mostly finished, however there's still tons of bugs and a lot of issues. Back then, around 2009, Minecraft was released in its alpha, and tons of players paid $15 to support the team and give back feedback. And this led to Minecraft being one of the most biggest games out there. Hell, it's so big that you can walk around this entire globe and everybody will know what Minecraft is. Slowly, more and more games nowadays are being released as betas. For instance, Call of Duty Black Ops 7 and Battlefield 6. And this is no longer becoming something that's used as a means of garnering feedback and, getting tips from players. It's more so like a marketing tactic to get people to buy the game because of the hype instead of just playing it to give back feedback, Let's touch on the most infamous dude who did this shit. He did this for well over a decade. Alex or Yandere did. Don't worry, this video is not going to be fully based on this dude because there's plenty, and I mean plenty of videos that can do that. But I'm just gonna give out the most important bits. This man made a game called Yandere Simulator. It gained a lot of popularity around 2016 when a lot of YouTubers was playing it, and he did release the Patreon at the same time to help gain funding to finish his product. But that's not what happened. So basically, he never used his money with good intentions. Dude used his Patreon money to buy a sex doll and I can't say that with a straight face. Dude used his Patreon money to buy a sex doll and slap one of his character's face on it. I'm not joking. He was supposed to create a rival to the main character, which didn't happen till 2020 on August the 31st. So yeah, people funded him, even gave him feedback on how to fix his already broken game, yet still no dice. The game is still not done, and I doubt it'll ever be done. But this is just an extreme example of a developer exploiting the alpha/beta release of a game to gain a profit. It's a scam. Speaking of which, y'all remember that game called The Day Before? This game was probably the most biggest scams in recent gaming history. Yeah, it feels forever ago, but it was only like 2 years. Man, time really does fly. But yeah, this game here was an MMO survival game. It was, I think, one of the most wanted game on Steam, apparently. Everybody wanted their hands on it, but the developers was being real shady. The trailer was released around 2021 and people were real excited about this game. However, the devs felt the pressure from the fans being more suspicious about the game since the development was taking longer than they expected and they was using asset flips. So they basically dropped the game. And people played it thinking they were gonna get what they saw in the trailer, but nope, they got a buggy, broken mess.
Yes! What is it?
And look, I'm not gonna be defending this game at all, but I will say this isn't the biggest scam in gaming history in my opinion. If anything, it's not even up there. It's not even close. I'd say it's probably the most misleading game because everybody ended up getting their money back, so it's not really the biggest scam. The biggest scam is really Chronicles of Illyria. This is a game that started development around 2016 and the developers raised around $1 million on Kickstarter, I think, and $7 million on their website. And yet there's still no game out. Then around 2020, they kicked out all of its staff and it is still currently in development. Imagine that, almost $8 million, 10 years of development, and it's still in development. They did try to throw a class action lawsuit against the devs, but it was dismissed in October of 2022. I'm not saying don't fund these developers, but you really don't know what you're getting into if you try to support them. Like, I swear, like when you try to support some of them, they'll just always stab you in the back. However, I'm getting off topic. These aren't games that abuse the early access model. They're games that misled and scammed their audience, but that's not to say that the early access model doesn't mislead people, because it does. Let's talk about the Steam early access feature. This feature allows developers to publish their games on Steam even if it's in an alpha or beta build. They can still add features and updates to the game over time. So this is a great feature for indie developers. However, some of them use it to manipulate or at least mislead their fan base with false promises that they'll never keep. They'll probably take forever to even release the game. Also, publishers and developers, they would just build up hype for the game to just release it in an early access state, then just leave it in limbo. And not only that, once the game does officially release, you probably already experienced everything they had in store before it even came out. So what is the point of an official release if you already played most of everything since you was there from the beginning? And it sucks too, because some of these games will just lower their prices before a game fully released, making people feel as if they need to buy it now while it's cheap rather than waiting until it's fully released. And not only that, most of the time people will just buy these early access games without really even knowing that they're early access. I see Steam labeling some of these games with the early access tag, but not others. I thought that was strange until I found out that the community votes for custom tags. However, I was thinking, why isn't this official? It makes no sense that this label isn't attached to early access games. If they can't do that with the tags, can we do something else other than visiting the store page to find out that it's an early access game? Also, I think Steam should just allow these studios to share a roadmap with us and, timelines, so we can see how long it takes for an update and how much they add to it. I know there's technically a timeline, but it's flooded with community announcements half the time and some patch notes. So it's not a true detailed timeline. I just want it to be like, almost like how the Steam replay shows all the games we play every year. Since I'm on this whole tangent, I might as well get this out the way. Most of the time when people criticize an early access game, the community will defend the game and ignore or even dismiss all criticism because the game is in early access. Even though the entire point of an early access game is to give fair criticism and help the developer do what's right for that same fan base. And here is where I'll talk about Enzoy. Yep, this is not a re-review. However, this is just a perfect example of what I'm talking about. When this game first released, people defended this game as if their lives depended on it. The hype for this game was so big, at least for a life simulation game. The term Sims killer was everywhere, and I'm guilty of that. Well, I didn't make a big impact, so it didn't matter. But still, it was everybody, because most people like myself at the time when this game released said that this game feels empty and soulless, and gave examples of what they can do to make it better, but the community didn't like that one bit. They did not like that. Instead, they'll compare it to The Sims 4 and say that it was way better at launch compared to The Sims 4, which I'm not arguing. However, this is not The Sims, it's Enzoy. Not only is it not 2014, but our expectations have also increased. I mean, look how long it's taken GTA 6 to release. Man, if there is not a good gameplay loop, people will not keep playing your game. That's just simple. For example, Schedule 1 has a strong gameplay loop. You can sell weed, avoid getting caught by the cops, hire people, become a drug lord. You can do all this in various different ways, which makes it interesting. And because of that, people are still playing it and have lots of hopes and passions for this game. Enzoy launched with nothing to keep its players interested beyond its Create-a-Zoid feature and its good graphics. However, the core gameplay loop was boring as hell. I mean, as a result, they lost 80% of their player base just in a month. And it's crazy. I'm not even the one to say like player count determines if a game is dead or not, but I'm not gonna ignore that, Yeah, but Enzoy pushed out tons of hype for his game. We all ended up paying for it, only to find out it was a nothing burger, and even if we complained, they sent the hounds after us. Man, not only all that, we have to wait whenever they choose to finish the game. Sorry not sorry if it seems like I'm going hard on Enzoy, because you gotta remember, this is not an indie company. This team is funded by Krafton, a company as of writing worth $7 billion. Not saying that they can't use their early access feature, but I'm not willing to give them as much grace as I do indie developers at all. Like, I paid $40, you think I'm gonna let that shit slide? But overall, where I'm getting at is that it is tiring to pay to become a beta tester for these games, man. Like, I know, I get it, it makes sense for indie devs, but even then, like, I'm tired of it. Speaking of which, y'all wanna know something? Stardew Valley released its alpha build around 2013 to 2014 to garner feedback it needed, and then later released the game in 2016. The creator, Concerned Ape, said he didn't want to put out his baby Stardew Valley on Steam's early access feature. And man, he's right. I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired of paying for these unfinished ass games. Just finish the game. And if you can't, at least make the core gameplay good enough for people to pay and support you. Games like Power World and Hades and even Rust knew this. They had a good gameplay loop. Sure, they used the early access feature, but they did so effectively. They took feedback from their community and improved the game like they said they would. Then it was released. I know that developers, especially indie devs, need funding, but please, don't exploit your fan base or mislead them into buying your game, because that's just so shitty, and it'll lead to people not wanting to trust early access games. And you know what? Since Concerned Ape said that, I'm gonna go make another forum. I'll see y'all later.